Hey folks, Alan Mandic, the HotRodHippie here. This video here, I've got more SEMA 2020 coverage for you. We're going to be taking a look at hot rod parts, car parts from the show, new stuff that I saw that I thought was interesting, so maybe you will for your builds, projects you're considering. Let's check it out. I've already done one video about SEMA 2020, aka SEMA 360, which was tools from SEMA 2020. Now we're going to talk about hot rod parts. As I've mentioned before, I'm here in my office right now because that's how I experienced SEMA 360 this year. In the era of human malware, this is how we experience trade shows now. Set up a camera in our office, a microphone ready to go, and that is a trade show in 2020. As I said in my tools video, I would normally wander the trade show floor and find all kinds of little things, ask for more detailed information, the important questions, or experience the tools and the parts that I'm trying to show to you folks firsthand so I can provide you with better information. That's just not the way the world is right now, so I'm going to bring you whatever it is that I did find interesting from the show. I do have a handful of items that I think you might find worthwhile, so let's get into it. Let's start off with something horrendous and get it out of the way. RGB headlights. I didn't even take note of what company is making these because they are awful and shouldn't exist. If you just want to experience rainbow puke like my custom editing computer has in it on your pickup truck, you can. Seek it out for yourself. I literally did not write down who made these, how much nothing. I saw they existed, cringed, and brought it to you. Moving right along, we got the Autometer Envision line and expansion to it. Now, I showed the Envision line last year, SEMA 2019, in my hot rod parts video that you can check out up here. In that video, I showed you the idea of what it is. It's a digital dashboard, and it can be customized to your needs, your application. I was asking last year about some upgradability, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get that figured out this year. I'd really personally, if I was going to use this in a build, like to put the HotRodHippie logo on it or something like that. And last year anyway, they didn't have that, but they said that it was something they were considering putting into the functionality of the system. Last year it did win 2019's Best Interior Product of the Year, and I can see why. For the right build, when it's gonna fit the style of what you're going for, this could be a really neat little gauge system. I like the idea of just having a blank slate when you shut the vehicle down. You don't have needles and all that, you just have a black screen there. That does mean that you just have a black screen there, so obviously having a tablet on your dashboard is not gonna look right in a 67 Chevelle or a 32 Ford. But the things that they're aiming for right now, it does make sense. Last year, they showed them off with the square body Chevy pickup trucks and the G-body vehicles, which are, say, the Monte Carlos, the Buick Regals. Those already have pretty squared off dashboards, so these seem to fit that pretty well in my mind. The expansion for 2020 is the Fox Body Mustang and the OBS Chevy pickup trucks. Two vehicles that I think these could fit in really nicely. I think the choice of the Fox Body Mustang was an excellent one. This thing should actually fit in there and look all right in a situation like this. The Fox Body Mustangs already have a really squared off dashboard. They're a very popular performance platform. Having an adjustable, customizable digital gauge setup for that you can maybe tie into your EFI, this makes perfect sense in my eyes. The OBS Chevys are coming around as well. They are really coming into their own as far as customizing and hot rodding is concerned. My most popular video from SEMA 2019 was the video all about OBS Chevy products, so this makes sense to me. Next up, let's talk about something that's underrepresented in a lot of outlets, and that is transmissions. The folks at Tremec have a new transmission, a new 5-speed transmission, the TKX. The idea of the TKX is to be a legitimate aftermarket application. Things like the T5, the TKO 500 and 600, those have always kind of been factory applications, OEM applications that they have then just modified a little bit here and there and then offered up to the aftermarket automotive world. While some of those are standalone aftermarket products, they never really were in design. I've installed a lot of T5s and TKOs, T56s into vehicles over the years, and they never fit quite right into anything except for what they were originally intended to fit into. So I end up building new bell housings and new transmission tunnels and cut off tabs off of the transmissions. And when you're talking about a brand new $3,000 transmission, it doesn't feel right to be shaving parts off of it. If you can reduce the amount of modification that needs to be made, it's going to make things a lot easier and maybe get more people to do transmission swaps like this. Get rid of their old 4-speed for an overdrive manual trans. Some of the features of this thing that they're listing off: you can get it with a GM or Ford input shaft and bolt pattern front face on it, so you can adapt it to your engine a little bit easier. It's rated up to 600 pound-feet of torque. Now, I've seen some aftermarket transmission companies say that they think they're going to be able to pump that number up with some modification, so if you're putting together a high horsepower, big torque combination, you may still have an option to use a transmission like this. And they do claim that that rounded off transmission case has an improved strength and design. Now, this is a 5-speed transmission, and there are a handful of gear setups that you can get for it. The lowest first gear ratio you can get is a 3.27 to 1 ratio, which is pretty decently low for a 5-speed manual transmission, and you can get I think 3 different overdrive applications: 0.68, 0.72, and 0.81 for that 5th gear ratio, so you can tailor it to whatever build you're trying to do. Whether you're aiming for more of a track build and you want to get a tighter gear ratio, there's a handful of the different options out there as far as the ratios are concerned. Price tag on this transmission is coming in at $27.95 MSRP. Now let's talk about something in the body realm. The folks at CVF have billet hood hinges for a range of vehicles, and they've added a few more this year. They're calling them the 6-axis hood hinges, and I was really struggling to figure out what the heck they meant by that. They seem to indicate, oh, you can adjust your hinges in 6 different ways. But really what they mean is X, Y, Z, and then rotation on X, Y, and Z, which is just the real world. We live in a 3D world. As I'm seeing it, there's only really 3 adjustment points on these hinges, and I'm not saying there's anything negative about that. I'm just saying the 6-axis thing is kind of a marketing doublespeak idea here. Some of the neat features that they do have, which you could technically count as additional adjustment points that I do like, is they actually have set screws within the slots for the up and down adjustment. The idea there being that one person could adjust that set screw to raise and lower the side of a hood. So if you're trying to situate that hood into a vehicle all on your lonesome, working by yourself, that could allow you a little bit easier time of adjusting on your own. They also have eccentrics in one of the adjustment points for the same concept. The idea being to make it easier on you to adjust the hood by yourself, something that I always struggle with. I almost always end up pulling in somebody else just to help me out with that, because that's what it takes most of the time. So a lot of these hoods are larger, and trying to adjust 2 sides at once, you can't do it when you're only one person. The increased product line now features C10 Chevy GMC trucks, as well as the 67 to 72 GM and Chevy trucks. Along with that, you get the 68 to 72 Chevelles and the 2nd gen F bodies. Now, one of the biggest things that really stood out about this to me was the price tag on these. They're $495 up to $695 depending on what finish you get. There are a couple of finish options. You can get the raw aluminum looking, you can get a black anodized one, and a black anodized with a cut edge. So all the chamfered edges are bare aluminum, which has a really nice look depending on your build. The only thing that I can really say that I do not love about this is something that I have a serious problem with in the automotive aftermarket industry, and this is such a universal problem. I'm not really blaming CVF for this. It's something that a lot of companies need to stop doing, is branding. Their branding is clear as day on these. Personally, I really like the look of the black anodized with the chamfered edges, but the logo, the CVF logo, is very apparent when you get that style. The thing about that for somebody like me is if I'm building a 6-figure car for somebody, I don't want to pop the hood on that vehicle and see 10 different logos. I don't want to have Holly here, CVF there, Wizard Performance here. I don't want to see these names everywhere. I don't want the cars that I build to be rolling advertisements for products. There's nothing wrong with branding your product. In fact, I do question when a company sends out a product that doesn't have a brand on it. I generally figure they're sourcing it from somebody else, and that's why their name's not on it. But they could put their name on the mating surface where it bolts on to the hood or to the fenders or to the firewall, somewhere that's not visible once it's installed. So you can still take pride in your product. Customers are still going to tell people, hey, where'd you get those hood hinges? Oh, I got them from so-and-so. They're not going to hide that fact if it's a good product. I just don't like this branding that everybody has to do with all of their products all of the time. Let's face it, when you're buying billet hood hinges, you're trying to make your build look like a certain thing. You're trying to aim for that Riddler Award winner look on a budget. You're trying to be that person who looks like you went out and got some custom-made CNC hood hinges, but you really went and you ordered them off of Summit. The thing about it is, there's nothing wrong with that, but it breaks the illusion when you got a name brand slapped across there. Sorry for that little rant, it's just something that I experienced in the automotive aftermarket that I had to get out there. The folks at DeatschWerks, I don't know how to pronounce this. My German is not nearly as good as it was even when I was in high school, and I failed that class, so. What they were showing, I only saw a 3D render of. I didn't see any product photos of an actual design, so this might be an early design that isn't quite available yet, and that is something that unfortunately does happen with the new products at SEMA sometimes. They were showing an in-tank surge tank setup. Now, a super quick crash course for my folks who might not be that familiar, a surge tank is basically a design that is used pretty often in racing applications nowadays when you're talking about fuel injection systems, road racing, drift cars, because it is a really good way of controlling your fuel flow. Basically what you have is a lift pump. That lift pump uses your main gas tank that sends fuel into a smaller tank that keeps that tank filled up with fuel all the time. That way, if you're cornering hard, if you're accelerating quickly and suddenly you have a much larger need for fuel, it's sloshing back in your fuel tank, the surge tank is experiencing that surge is not going to drain down on you. So any serious racing applications nowadays do run surge tank setups, and this design is meant to go inside of a standard fuel cell. So you can use an existing rated fuel cell for your racing application, take out the oval-shaped bolt pattern that I've seen on a lot of fuel tanks, and drop this into there, so you've got an inbuilt surge tank, lift pump, whole 9 yards, ready to roll. This is capable of supporting up to 2,500 horsepower in a 2-stage pump design. That means on a 2-stage pump design, you actually would have 3 pumps: the lift pump, a primary pump, and a secondary pump to feed your application, so that those could run in series together and always feed the engine, or that secondary pump could be programmed to come in under higher boost applications or something like that. They do include a rollover vent valve with this setup. It is rated for E85 and racing fuel applications. All of this is coming in at what I think, for how much material you're talking about, for everything involved, is a reasonable price, $699, but that does not include pumps. You're gonna have to supply your own pumps for that situation, which they do have their own line of, but you can pick up some pretty reasonably priced pumps when you're talking about that. This whole assembly and the engineering that goes into it is what you're really paying for here. And last, and most certainly least, is the folks at Maradyne fans. They had a 6.5-inch dash fan. Yeah, 200 CFM rating on this thing. Price tag on it is $49.95. Why am I showing you this? Because when the folks at SEMA talk about there's 1,000 new products in the new product showcase this year, this is some of the stuff that's in there. And honestly, there's a lot more stuff like chamois cloths for wiping off cars, and a new bar, clay bar for wiping down and detailing your car. And to some folks, that's important stuff. To me, counting it as 1,000 new products when one of them is a dash fan. And if you look on Maradyne's site, they have like a dozen dash fans. What's new about this one? I don't know. It looks like every dash fan I've ever seen in an old utility body truck from the 1960s. I don't know. Alright folks, that is the new hot rod parts that I found from SEMA 2020. Definitely some things that are more interesting than the others in there. I'm looking at you, that Maradyne fan. If you haven't already seen it, I did do that new Tools of SEMA 2020, SEMA 360 video you can check out, link in the description down below and in the end card as well. I'll throw it there so you can easily find it if you haven't seen it yet. And if you found all this interesting, you might find my SEMA 2019 coverage is interesting as well. There's probably products in there you haven't heard of because they might still not have hit the market. That's unfortunately what does happen here sometimes. New products come out and they still take a while to come out. I'm gonna drop links down below to all the websites for the companies that I mentioned here so you can find out news about these parts when they are available. Unfortunately, a lot of them are not on their websites just yet. All right, folks, I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please go ahead and drop it a like. It really helps out. Let me know in the comments down below, and then any of these parts you're gonna run in your builds, something you found interesting, please let me know in the comments down below. Go ahead and get subscribed to keep up to date with all the HotRodHippie content, more tutorials, product reviews, and things coming for you very soon. Thanks for coming around, folks.